Good evening, Messiah. Today marks 22 years since the September 11th attacks, a day that many remember, and we here at YBTV want to honor those who lost their lives and those who were impacted and continue to be impacted by the attacks. With our first show falling here on 9/11, here's Kelly Gainey with a special edition of The Vault.
22 years ago, the attacks of September 11th in New York, Washington, D.C., and Pennsylvania captured the world's attention. At Messiah, students and faculty grappled with the shocking news of the tragedy. I sat down with those who were here at Messiah on that fateful morning.
It was an absolutely beautiful day. When I was driving in, I was thinking, okay, this is the kind of day you want to store in a bottle and bring out later.
A colleague passed me and said something about a plane hitting a building, but it didn't really register in my mind. It's like, a plane hitting a building, what's that all about? It wasn't until I went into my classroom that I began to learn what was happening that day.
And I heard something was going on, like there was some noise around campus. Well, we heard a plane crashed, so that's not good news, but it's not what we thought it was later, right? Then we heard that it landed into a major building in New York. My first thought was, that's not normal. Flight paths don't run there.
I remember sitting in the audience when someone went behind the stage and whispered something into her ear. But then when she got up to the podium to pronounce the benediction or the closing prayer, she says, I just heard that the trade centers were, she didn't say attacked, they just were hit by airplanes. So we didn't really know much at that time.
It was chaos. Nobody knew what was going on. So I was done with my classes, and so there was enough anxiety. I remember Rayanne Hammond, another faculty member, had come down the hall and said something big's going on and we're not getting information. I remember setting up a TV in the sort of alcove of Hoffman Hall just to get some programming on. And by the time I'd done that, the second plane had crashed. And when two planes crash, stop to think about that. This is clearly not an accident. And of course, it's shocking, like you can't really do the math. And all I thought was, I'm done with my classes. I want to be with my family. It felt that existential.
Yeah, it was kind of a shock. Where did this come from? The discussion was over, well, does anyone here know or have any connections to people in New York City? And there were a few distant. No one had any relative who was directly impacted.
Initially, as the impact of the event began to settle in, there was some kind of, students felt uncertain, some were worried and anxious about what this all really meant and what the future would hold for them. And gradually all of us began thinking about the same. What is this, the impact of all of this going to be?
Good evening, Messiah. Welcome back to our first live show of the 2023-2024 school year. We have a lot in store for you. I'm Nate Harlacker.
And I'm James Hellman. Nate, it's been a while since I've seen you at this desk. What'd you get up to over the summer?
Well, over the summer, I went on vacation and hung out with all my friends from home, and I honestly went to a lot of hockey games.
Hockey games, you said?
Hockey
I
games.
also went to a couple
Wait.
of I saw you
you there. Oh my gosh.
Great times.
Yeah, great times. Also, what else did you do?
Outside of going to a couple hockey games, I got to join Messiah's communication department on a trip to Italy, so a lot of good times, a lot of good memories made there.
That's awesome. And I don't know if you noticed, James, but there were some changes added to the student handbook. Dingus and I decided to take a look at why these changes were made. Parts of Messiah's student handbook has been revised for the 2023 school year. Dean of Students Doug Wood discusses those changes.
The biggest change, we've expanded the section on our interpersonal violence and sexual misconduct and stalking, otherwise known as Title IX. About 60 pages have been added to the handbook that used to exist online.
Some students and faculty may wonder why and how the student handbook gets the changes it does and what it takes for those changes to be made.
Well, the student handbook has existed for decades, basically, and it has grown in size through the years. We have a community standards committee that's a part of our governance that helps to regulate what we publish in the student handbook. We wanted there to be one place for students to be able to access a lot of the information that's associated with the interpersonal violence, sexual misconduct policy. And so it felt very natural to fit it in the handbook. It is something that's available to our students as well as to our employees. Corollary to the student handbook is an employee handbook. It also resides there as well.
Some changes to the policy may not surprise some, but we wonder how exactly it affects Messiah University as a whole.
To promote a safe and comfortable place for students to pursue their learning unimpeded from danger, from discomfort, from things that could potentially negatively impact their experience here.
For YBTV, I'm Nathan Harlacker.
In the wake of Messiah's financial aid department discontinuing minimum GPA requirements for scholarships, program head Emerson Powery decided it was time for a change. The program, previously known as the Humanities Scholars Program, has recently undergone a rebranding.
So in the past, it was called the Humanities Scholars Program. Now the enrichment program is more of I just love the humanities. So it's an enrichment for those who kind of self-select into the program. And there are lots of activities connected to faculty as well as to external guests who will come. They will have special dinners with those guests and other kinds of activities.
The Humanities Enrichment Program is now open to anyone in the Biblical and Religious Studies, Communications, Language and Literature, and History and Political Science departments. This also gives students an opportunity to network.
Messiah University has been back and in full force with students and activities returning to campus. Students are encouraged to get involved at Messiah in many ways, and clubs provide great opportunities to make new friends and get connected around campus.
It was beneficial to going to these different clubs. I think there's always the issue of maybe saying yes to so many things, but if you go to the trial periods of going to one or a few clubs, you can narrow down what you do like to do and who you like to be around to then give it the time and attention you want to give it. So I think it's really important to do that, because eventually you'll find the place, you'll find the people you want to be around with. Messiah is all about community, and these clubs more specifically, like I said earlier, there's a more specific reason why you're all there and why you're creating that community. So
you can find the entire list of clubs if you search Messiah Clubs on any web browser.
Multimedia art-driven performance titled Ordinary Saints visited campus this past week. Reed Milliken has more.
Ordinary Saints is a multidisciplinary collaboration of painting, poetry, and music, curated by painter Bruce Sherman, poet Malcolm Gate, and composer Jack Redford. The event, which was held on Friday, September 8th, in the Calvin and Janet High Center for Worship and Performing Arts, was a performance of a culmination of all three art forms.
Bruce earlier just used the word submit, that we submitted to each other. We submitted to one another's art. I looked at the painting and the poem came from it. You, I think, sometimes looked at just the painting and made the music. And sometimes you looked at both the painting and the poem. That's right. And there's this plenitude, this overflow. And I think that connects with what we're doing in this project, simply because we all believe, all three of us, that we are made in the image of God.
The artistic process would begin with Herman painting a portrait of a loved one, which Gate would then interpret into a poem,
Firefly, Firefly,
which would then be turned into a composition by Redford. The event was followed by a Q&A with the three artists, where Gate went on to describe the meaning of the title.
Ordinary Saints begins with the idea that we're not yet ready to see each other really. They turned to look at us, but we turned around, unready for the wrench and reach of grace. But one day we will see them face to face.
If you missed the event, you can find the works of Bruce Herman on display right now in the Ahanba Art Gallery, which will remain on display until October 8th. For YBTV, I'm Reed Milliken.
Messiah's dining services have added a new way to order food and beverages for this semester at the Falcon Union. Students and faculty are now able to download an app to order rather than using the online website. Students can also order through the kiosks at each location. When ordering online, students will automatically be charged through their account, allowing for the checkout lines to move much faster. This change not only makes it more convenient for the students, but more efficient for the workers. Scan the QR code posted in the dining areas of Messiah to download this app.
I don't know about you, Nate, but I'm not the biggest fan of Lottie, so I use that app a lot, and I gotta say, it is quite convenient.
You know, I agree with you just the same exact way. I love Falcon and Union just as much as you. Being a commuter, just grab my food and go, it's my favorite thing. Now, James, those are some great stories. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back with Falcon Forecast, Falcon on the Street, and more after the break.
My name is Curtis Seaman. I'm a senior journalism major. So my entire life, I've really enjoyed writing, really enjoyed sports. I thought that if I combined the two, sports journalism would be the perfect major for me. I feel very prepared for post-graduation with practicum. That's been a huge help. You have to participate in 3 different mediums of communication, media, throughout the class period. And to be able to do things like radio and television and writing has just kind of really helped to broaden my horizons. And in terms of writing, I'm also excited to use all of those skills that I've learned as well. Obviously, the professors here in the communication department are fantastic, and they really know how to get you to drill down and get you to write the best that you possibly can. And Senior Sem, Dr. Dixon, prays before every class. And a lot of other professors do that. To be able to pray in class, to be able to talk about faith-based things is just huge, and I really have appreciated that all 4 of my years here at Messiah. So right now I'm interning at WGAL 8 in Lancaster, which is just a TV station, NBC affiliate. The hours are a little rough. They're from 4 in the morning until noon, but that's also been a look ahead of what it's going to be like in my career in the future, so that's been also a good experience. For MC77, my sophomore year was the first year I did. I started on camera, I moved to floor manager. I've done everything from camera to producing, executive producing, anchoring, VTR, audio. You can do pretty much any role. They're more than willing to give you the chance to make mistakes, but also to learn, because the time is now to make mistakes before you go out and are working for a real television station. MC77 has definitely given me a ton of great experience and prepared me for what's to come with that, and I'm excited to use that more within bigger TV stations and more live television day in and day out.
Welcome back. Nate, where do you get your weather updates from?
James, I get it from none other than Josh McLeaf when I don't get it from myself. Josh, let's see what you got.
Nate, James, great to see you guys. Great to be back on campus. Not so great, this continuing rain and cloud coverage that we've seen over the past several days. We'll take a look at what it's like right now on the campus of Messiah, sitting at about 78 degrees. Still a lot of clouds. We did see a little bit of rain today, early in the morning and early in the afternoon, and that is largely thanks to this stationary front that we'll show you on the surface map. So we'll show you that this front has just been hanging over us for the past 4 or 5 days. However, good news, that will push itself out over the next 24 hours east. Now, do notice that behind it, we do have a cold front that will continue to work its way this way for us as well. That will bring us some more clouds and rain showers as well. We're not talking really about a lot of rain. These showers are very scattered. They are very sporadic. So really not a lot of rain totals. We'll take a look at the precipitation outlook, and we'll show you that some places seeing about 1/10 of an inch. Some of us right here below Harrisburg seeing about 7/10 of an inch. So some really to rain from a pretty dry summer, but I think we'll be happy to have a break for a few days. We'll also show you that once we get past Wednesday, our dew points get significantly more comfortable as well. So we'll take a look at that and show you that we start to see dew points in the 50s and the 40s come Thursday and Friday. When we talk about dew points in the 60s or above, that means we're talking about very humid, very thick air. But when you talk about 50 and below, I mean, that is just really nice, dry, comfortable weather. We'll also talk about the tropics. You may have heard some talk about this in the news already. Hurricane Lee, currently a Category 3 storm, maximum sustained winds of about 110 miles per hour. There's a lot of models right now showing that this just stays out in the Atlantic. So there's a lot of confidence in the idea that it does not hit the United States. So with that being said, the only thing you might see if it stays out in the Atlantic is some rip currents along the East Coast. So nothing to stress about right now, but something to be aware of if you're planning a long weekend to the beach anytime soon. You may also hear some talk about Hurricane Margot and, I'm sorry, not Hurricane, Tropical Storm Margot. We'll continue to monitor that as well. So we'll show you the 7-day and again show you that we have some really great temperatures on tap once we get past Wednesday, down in the 70s and lows of the 50s. I mean, that's really comfortable weather, especially as we continue to inch into fall. And with those dew points, I'm very excited for this weekend.
That was stellar. Gives you a run for your money, Nate.
Yeah, I guess that was good. But anyway, James, we're approaching the fall season, and that means fall drinks are back. Rosie Schiano asked students what they like better. Rosie?
And today we're going around asking people, what do they prefer better, pumpkin spice or apple cider flavored drinks for the fall season?
I would definitely say apple cider is my favorite because it's just like when you warm it up, it's so delicious, so cozy, reminds me of being little, very nostalgic.
I would probably have to go with apple cider drinks.
I'm a big pumpkin spice fan. For me, it'd be like warm apple cider.
I'd probably have to say apple cider drinks. Something about it just gets me a bit more into the fall season feeling. And I think they're just like, I don't know, a bit more down to earth almost. Pumpkin spice just kind of reminds me of coffee shops, but like apple cider reminds me of Halloween, Christmas, the whole shebang. Yeah.
I am a pumpkin spice girly through and through. I think the notes of cinnamon, the pumpkin, the warmth of a drink in my hand as the leaves are falling, it's just, it makes me feel alive, and I love that feeling.
For me, it would be warm apple cider.
I'm really picky, so I don't like either, but I really like hot chocolate. Those were all great answers from the students at Union, but for me personally, I really like cold apple cider on a nice fall night with some of the wind blowing, the leaves just, frolicking around. But that's it for this week's Falcon on the Street. For YBTV, I'm Rosie Schiano.
After hearing all those answers, Nate, I have to know, what do you like better?
You know, I love both pumpkin and apple cider, but in different ways. I like apple cider just as a pure drink, hot or cold, but I like pumpkin spice specifically in my iced coffees. How about you?
You know, I also am not that big fan of either, but I guess if I had to pick one or the other, I would probably go with apple cider myself.
Yeah, that's fair enough, but we are now at one of my favorite segments, Campus Calendar, and my guy, Brandon Cruz, tells what's up and what's happening on the campus this week. Brandon?
Hello, Messiah University. I'm Brandon Cruz, and welcome back to this week's edition of Campus Calendar. We've all been back on campus now for a little while now, and both classes and, more importantly, the campus events are starting to ramp up. So let's take a look at some events happening this week on campus. On Tuesday night, Minds Matter is hosting Mind Meld, an information session where you can meet the Minds Matter staff, learn more about the group, and learn more about ways you can get involved. The session starts at 5:30 in Klein 120. On Wednesday night, the Department of Communications annual Culture Connect lecture will be taking place in Parmer Cinema from 7 to 8 p.m. Dr. Katie R. Place will be giving the lecture entitled Ethical Listening for Communications, Business, and Beyond, and there will be a reception immediately after in the Howe Atrium. Lastly, on Saturday, Messiah will host Pershing Zone featuring the U.S. Army Concert Band and Army Chorus. The performance will take place in Parmer Hall from 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. and tickets are free. And that is all for this week's edition of Campus Calendar, and I hope to see you all at some of these events later on this week. For YBTV, I'm Brandon Cruz.
Thank you, Brandon. Make sure to get out to some of these events this week.
It's now time for sports, and after the break, PJ and Caleb will be here after the break.
A student would want to study the finance major here at Messiah for several reasons. Students here are working and practicing in a setting in our finance lab with technology that they're going to use when they leave here and work in the field. And so our students are certified in Bloomberg. In addition, in several classes, our students are actually performing consulting projects with local financial and investing firms.
I think the biggest thing that surprised me about coming for the finance major here was just the scope that you get in all the different classes. So anything from corporate finance to portfolio management, security analysis, you touch on everything. Getting into investment club was something I really was looking forward to coming here to Messiah. I knew from very early on I wanted to get involved.
There's nothing wrong with going out, being successful, making money, but not allowing money to have a higher place in your life than God. So our goal is to get our students started off on their career path quicker and better positioned than any of their peers.
Welcome to a new semester of YBTV Sports. I'm PJ Rydell.
And I'm Caleb Kukin. PJ, I can't think of a better way to start this semester than by saying that I'm anchoring alongside an Emmy-nominated and Mespy winning guy.
Stop, you're going to make me blush, Caleb. We're happy to be back, happy to be doing YBTV Sports once again. It's a good day to be a Falcon, always a good day to be a Falcon. And we got plenty of things coming for you here, including the new set and everything here today.
Yep.
So we got a lot of new stuff to talk about in sports, in the set, in all of the above.
Yeah, and I mean, it's definitely exciting, this set, but you want to know what else is exciting?
What's exciting, Caleb?
A Roma trip to Zambia. I got to interview 4 students, Dustin, Issa, Alexa, and Alyssa, and they told me all about this trip to Zambia, how they got to minister to kids. And I mean, they had so much fun, and I can tell from this interview and this incredible experience.
Yeah.
In August, Messiah Sports Ministry, Aroma, took a group of students to Zambia.
So the purpose of going there really was to spread the soil water filters to a village in Macha, just to provide them with clean and safe drinking water that they did not have before.
Another purpose that we had was to help with the Macha Sport and Learning Project, and that was a super cool opportunity as well.
This trip allowed student athletes to use sport as a way to minister to kids.
To be able to use sports as a tool, as a way to spread the gospel and to witness to other people. So it was really neat being able to approach the trip from that aspect and kind of just learning how we can use our love for the sports we play to be a vessel and a tool to witness to other people.
Students went to Zambia to impact lives, but the kids there left them with an impact as well.
There'd be groups of like 100 kids, and a little boy would raise his hand to pray for everyone. And it's just like, you don't see that here. So it's just really inspiring. I really gained a confidence and boldness in my own faith getting to experience that as well. So
just how much joy and faith all of the kids had there. Most of them had one outfit. Some of them didn't have shoes, but they were just so full of joy.
This trip left students with valuable life lessons.
We met with Ryan, who helped run the trip. He gave us each a stone, and we wrote something that really stuck out to us while we were on the trip. And for me personally, I wrote endless joy in the Lord.
And something I put on my rock was trust.
The lessons I've learned was just like joy that's rooted in the Lord.
One of the things that I put on my rock that Ryan gave us was same God.
Issa, Alexa, Dustin, and Alyssa, along with the others, get to look back on this trip and think of the fun stories, kids they met, and the lessons they took away. For YBTV, I'm Caleb Kukin.
PJ, it was so fun interviewing them because I could just tell that this trip meant so much to them, and they could have talked about it for hours. And one thing I will say, though, is don't let Dustin ever try and negotiate prices for you.
I'm not sure I want to ask why I shouldn't let him negotiate prices, but hopefully we'll never have to find out as we get set for this week's Falcon 4. At this point, you guys are used to the drill. We are going to highlight the top 4 plays of this week in Messiah sports. We already talked about earlier. We got plenty to talk about. So we'll start at Anderson Field with field hockey as we get set a big matchup against Salisbury with the corner 1-2, and you get the opportunity there on the second chance. The first chance wouldn't go there for Nicole Shank, but the second one finds its way through, and Leah Briner tapping it in for a big overtime win for Messiah Field Hockey. Take a look at it again. The first shot for Shank won't go. Great play by the defender. Unfortunately for her, that's going to go unanswered as that one goes into the net. Again, the Falcons, a huge win. They came into this game as the number 8 team in the nation and took out the Salisbury Seagulls, the number 4 team in the nation. Field hockey rolls to a 3-0 start as they look to keep the momentum going as they first face Ursinus on Wednesday.
PJ, I'm going to take us down south to Johns Hopkins, where the Messiah women's soccer team took on the number 1 team in the country, the Johns Hopkins Blue Jays. The team looked to avenge their NCAA Final Four loss last season to the eventual champion Blue Jays. And look at this ball sent by Hannah Adair, and here comes Brittany Laird turning on the Jets and launches it with the left foot. Bang! Absolutely filthy goal there from Brittany Laird. And we're going to take a look at it again here. Laird barely has any separation there, decides to let it rip, and I mean, she could not have put it in a better spot. This was the lone goal as the Falcons knocked off the Blue Jays and got some redemption from last season. The team now sits at 4-0 and faces McDaniel on Wednesday.
The amount of strength you have to have in your legs to be able to hit it like that in stride, unbelievable. So Caleb, we have a unique situation when we go to men's soccer here. We have a 2-for-1 deal, as it was all Cole Christian, for against SUNY Brockport on Friday. As we go to the highlight here, here's the first one. It's a free kick from about the top of the box here. Cole Christian winds, fires, and we were just talking about leg strength. There's a little bit of strength for you. Cole Christian breaks the scoreless tie in the first half. It's a 1-0 Falcons. The celebration is on. That's not where the celebration would end, though, as we progress here later to the second half. Nice touch there by reigning D3 National Player of the Year, Matt McDonald. Cole Christian has some space on the left side. Left, right, boom, in, off the chest, and boom, in for the score. Boom goes the dynamite. It's a big score for the Falcons, 2-0, and a brace for Cole Christian. You can fly on into the win column there as the Falcons win the home opener against SUNY Brockport. They won again on Saturday against Rutgers Camden, 4-0 behind goals from freshman Sam Phillips, another brace for them. And now they get set to play Dickinson on Wednesday.
And for the final highlight of the day, we're going to go to Hitchcock to see what the Messiah women's volleyball team was up to as they faced off against the E-Town Blue Jays on Wednesday. So here we see in the third set, serve got by Eby, set to fight right down the middle. Wastes no time there. And we're going to take a look at the replay here and just watch this play as we see a really high set here. Fight times it perfectly and not afraid to go right down the middle. And she and the Falcons make E-Town leave town with an L. They go on to win 3-1 against E-Town over the weekend. They competed in the Haverford tri-match where they lost to Haverford and beat Rutgers Camden. They now have a 5-1 record.
Well, a lot of good highlights for us as per usual, and that does it for YBTV Sports here on Falcon Update. Stay tuned as we have YB Tonight up next.
Well, watching paint dry never gets old, does it?
Never has, and never will. Hey, anyway, I'm gonna go back to my apartment now.
Sounds good. I'm gonna get some Lottie before they close at 2.
All right, cool. Whoa, hey, they actually close at 1:30.
But Union doesn't open until 4. Oh, shoot!
Bruh. Oh, Nate. Hey, glad I caught you. Hey, I just remembered that on weekends, the Union actually opens at 1 now. Isn't that sweet?
Good evening and welcome to this semester's very first YB Tonight, live from the basement of Hossetter Chapel. I'm your host, Emma Dingus, and I'm so glad you're watching. We've got a great show tonight, and I'm so excited for it. First, I'll sit down with Sabrina Stanford and Daniel Leslie from The Pulse, the on-campus radio station, and to close the evening, we'll get a sneak peek at film student Zach Hines' film. But before we begin, let's take a look at this week's Beyond the Breaches.
For this week's Beyond the Breaches, we will be taking a look at Caroline J. Phillips' story. She is currently a freelance photographer and videographer. She was at Messiah from 2010 to 2014, studying film and media arts.
I wanted to have a career in film. And so when I was looking at colleges and deciding my major, I couldn't really figure out what I wanted to do, but I knew I liked watching TV. Through television and through film, I saw that I could possibly experience a lot of different other fields. What inspires me the most is these people that also love their jobs or also do what they love, and I get to like capture that, and it's like that's the most inspiring thing. And now today I get to be on a boat for a day as a waterman. I get to go to a factory for a day, and so that was like really appealing to me. My biggest accomplishment recently was my photo was featured in the Smithsonian.
Caroline happened to be taking photos of her friend Imani Black in passing, who works in aquaculture. She took a photo of her friend on a boat, and it has since blown up. The woman in the picture has become an international figurehead of aquaculture. Caroline's portrait of her friend is now a life-size display in the Smithsonian Museum.
That was really cool, and she took me there, and we got to see it in person for the first time, both with each other, and it was just awesome. I just encourage people to really kind of outline what's important to you and try to pursue that. Career is one thing, but life is, more important. I think you can fit career into life rather than life into your career. So just trust yourself, but also outline what you want and kind of pursue that is definitely how I've done it so far, and it's kind of worked. So
there's a camera over there, so you can full head tilt.
Welcome back to YB Tonight. I'm your host, Emma Dingus, and I'm here with Sabrina Stanford and Daniel Leslie from The Pulse. How are you guys doing tonight? I'm doing great. How are you? Just wonderful. Daniel?
I'm great. Thanks for having us on.
Thank you for being here. So, how have you guys been the last couple weeks since getting into campus, getting in the routine of things? How have it been at The Pulse?
Well, we've had a rough start, I'd say, but we're getting a good grasp. We've got a good team on our shoulders, and it's been good.
Yeah, we got a lot of fun events planned and just working with some artists and musicians, which is pretty fun too.
Sounds like it's great. So what are your positions at the Pulse?
So I'm the radio manager at the Pulse, and
I'm the music director.
Oh, that's great, great, great. And what do each of your respective roles, responsibilities look like for those?
So as the music director, I get to coordinate and talk with lots of independent artists or like labels, and they get to send me their music. I preview it and then like decide if it gets played on air or not. And then I also get to talk to the artists and like do interviews with them and like go to their shows and like conduct interviews. So it's a pretty fun job I get to do.
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm more on the technical side of things. I kind of oversee all the radio shows and podcasts that students can operate and run themselves. So
Wonderful, wonderful stuff. But how did you guys each get your start at the Pulse?
So I actually started volunteering at the Pulse. I did my own radio show. It was one of the reasons why I decided to major in communications. But just volunteering and starting off, just doing my own radio show and podcast really kind of allowed me to enjoy working there. And then eventually a position opened up for me to be the radio manager. And I just filled that spot pretty easily.
He's been a great boss.
And how about you, Sabrina? How did you get your start?
Well, yeah, I remember when I was touring Messiah, like they showed us like Pulse and like the whole media stuff. And I've always been interested in like media. And so I think going into my sophomore year, I was like, how can I get involved? And I emailed the director and I was like, what positions are open? And she told me about the music director one. And of course, music's my passion. I do that all the time. So this kind of job fit perfectly for me.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So you mentioned some fun events that you guys have in the works. Can you tell us about upcoming then World College Radio Day, kind of what you have in store for that?
Yeah, World College Radio Day is something that happens every year across the country where college radio stations can just celebrate college radio. And it's really all about bringing together local communities and really just celebrating the fact that we have college radio and it can help bring us all together. And so we have some special things planned out, and we're trying to tie it in with the release of the first magazine that's coming out the same day, October 6th, I believe. It's the first Friday in October. So we're going to be doing a whole day full of stuff, not only on the radio side, but also in the magazine.
Yeah, we're doing like radio shows, like highlighting like local artists or like new music or just college radio favorites. And then if you tune in, we're doing a couple giveaways too. So if you're looking to add to your vinyl collection or any other Pulse prizes, please tune in.
Can we have like a little teaser of like what some of the possible prizes might be?
I mean, we got like vinyls. So if you got like your favorite artist on vinyl, we probably have that. We're still working on like Pulse merchandise stuff, but yeah.
There will be
EPs,
prizes,
yeah.
but yeah.
Well, who doesn't love prizes, guys? I mean, come on.
You gotta tune in.
That's how you get them. So with all these big events coming up, I'm sure you're going to need some people to help out with different things or different positions at the Pulse that are open. How can people that are interested in joining your staff get involved?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, a great way to get involved is to just volunteer. I mean, if you are interested in starting a podcast or a radio show, I always try to tell people that if you start with what you're passionate about, you can really do a podcast or even a radio show about whatever you want. So if there's people that want to play their own music, I mean, you can do so and have a whole hour of just playing your favorite songs. And even with podcasts, I mean, you can talk about whatever interests you. It doesn't have to be something conformed to a certain genre or anything like that. And so I'm really trying to encourage people who have ideas, just come to me and we can talk about it. And I'll never say no to an idea, and I'm more than willing to talk it out with people. But
yeah, and I know, correct me if I'm wrong, you both host your own respective radio shows throughout the week, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're on Fridays, right?
Yeah, Fridays from like 1 to 2. It's fun time.
And I've stuck with my Saturdays from 8 to 9. So.
Right, AM or PM?
PM. I don't wake up that early, but especially on a Saturday. But
yeah. Well, we're talking all about getting involved here. If you guys were to give 60-second pitches for your Pulse positions, people that might be interested in joining, what would they be?
Well, I guess for music director, it's opening up next year. So if you're passionate about music, you love concerts, you love listening to music, then this is the job for you. And just communicate with people, and you're gonna have a lot of fun opportunities with it.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, I'm hoping to kind of broaden the reach of what podcasts and radios can do. And so if somebody's interested in just starting out and learning what it's all about, then, I mean, there's no reason to just not at least give it a shot and then see where it can take you, because you never know what might come of it.
Definitely. Yeah. So where can people follow the Pulse at?
Well, we have social medias everywhere, Facebook, Instagram, all that. But if anybody's interested in starting a podcast or radio show, they can always email me at pulseradio@messiah.edu.
Yeah, you can also stream our radio online on our website.
Forgot
And
about
also Radio Garden, like a college radio app, you can also stream it on there too. So please listen. It's great music.
Definitely, definitely. Well, I do tune in quite a bit, and I will say I'm a big fan. You guys got a good selection going on.
Thank you.
And before we wrap things up, are there any small details that I missed or that you wanted to share with everyone watching?
Join the Pulse. It's great. Really
I love the enthusiasm, Daniel. So thank you guys so much for coming on tonight. The Pulse seems like it's a great way to get involved. Tune in next week when we have features from Zach Hind, and tune in. We'll be right back after this break.
A student would want to study the finance major here at Messiah for several reasons. Students here are working and practicing in a setting in our finance lab with technology that they're going to use when they leave here and work in the field. And so our students are certified in Bloomberg. In addition, in several classes, our students are actually performing consulting projects with local financial and investing firms.
I think the biggest thing that surprised me about coming for the finance major here was just the scope that you get in all the different classes. So anything from corporate finance to portfolio management, security analysis, you touch on everything. Getting into investment club was something I really was looking forward to coming here to Messiah. I knew from very early on I wanted to get involved.
There's nothing wrong with going out, being successful, making money, but not allowing money to have a higher place in your life than God. So our goal is to get our students started off on their career path quicker and better positioned than any of their peers.
C77 is now officially rebranded as Yellow Breeches TV.
For joining us this evening. Let's jump right into it. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Just doing wonderful. It's been a great night so far. So you are here to promote your new documentary, Sharpening Iron. What can you tell us about the process of making this film? What was it like?
So it was basically just me and a buddy. We were talking one day. He just moved onto our floor, and I found out that he spent 3 years in the Army. And I was like, whoa, Nick, this is crazy. And he started telling me all these stories about like what life was like before the Army and after, and how he found God through the Army and what he was doing. And now he started running. He was training for these ultra marathons. He had this crazy goal of running over 100 miles in 24 hours. And I was like, this is crazy. I need to, like, we should make a documentary. And then he actually approached me one day. He's like, hey, Zach, I have this crazy goal. Let's make a documentary. I'm like, Nick, that sounds amazing. Let's do it. And then it all just kind of like came together.
I mean, you can't turn down that offer. I mean, that's a story that's worth sharing for sure. And I believe that you brought a clip with you to show tonight.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes, I did.
Well, let's let's take a look at that.
Took a while for me to find out who I was. I remember one day I was driving to the Army Volunteer Corps, which is where I did my internship before leaving the Army. So I drove to it. I was talking to my boss at the time. She was going to be my boss. I was getting the application approved to doing the internship. And then I was driving back down the street. I went to a stoplight, and then the green arrow went for me to go. And then I pulled out. I woke up in the car, having no idea what happened. I was confused, I was worried. So when I experienced that setback, that gave me a moment of mental examination where I asked myself, well, who are you? And that led to the question of me finding out whose I was.
Wow, that seems like it is a wonderful story to be told. What was it like working with Nick?
Oh, Nick was amazing. He's such a kind-hearted guy. He only sees the best in people. He's just so genuine and just an amazing person to be around.
Yeah, definitely. You can definitely see his kind of character come through really well in that short little clip that you showed us. But what were some of the hardest days of shooting, and kind of what were, on the flip side of that, were some of the easier days?
Ooh, hardest days. Well, there weren't so many hard days. Well, actually, there were times when I had to record him running, and it was only me because he wakes up at like 5 in the morning to go running. And so I would wake up too, and then I had to go run with him, but I had to hold the camera too. Oh, no. And he would go for like 20 miles, and I would like follow him for 2. I'd be like, Nick, I have to tap out. Like, this is terrible. But I think there weren't as many hard days as there were challenges to overcome. Like one day I was sitting in psych class, and he walks in, sits next to me, and he's like, Zach, I have a stress fracture in my foot, and I can't run. And he had to cancel all the marathons he was doing, and like we just couldn't get footage anymore. And I was like, it was like very stressful to figure out. But it eventually just all came around. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It was very stressful until it wasn't. Yeah. And then it just all kind of came together, and it worked out wonderfully.
Yeah, kind of, you said like all the different kind of hiccups that came in the road. How long did it take for you to finish filming it?
It took a whole semester. Wow. So it took the full like 4 months from like pre-production to like the final product.
Yeah,
but, yeah,
for sure. So this was kind of your first experience with producing a film, correct?
From start to end, yeah.
Yeah. Kind of, you know, now looking back in hindsight, what are some things that you'd change for the next time you produce?
Oh golly. I don't know. I wouldn't do a documentary again. Those are scary because, like I said earlier, when he had the stress fracture, it's just like, well, we're canned for however long it takes for him to heal, and that's just way more stressful than what it needs to be. But that's probably the only thing I'd change, is just no documentary.
All right, fair enough. Now we're going to change gears a little bit. I believe you had an internship this summer in Hollywood. What was that like?
It was wonderful, actually. I worked for a Christian advocacy group, which is basically when people want to advertise towards a Christian demographic, that's films that is, they'll go to these advocacy groups and they'll be like, hey, help us make the film catered to this audience. And the company I worked for was the only Christian advocacy group in Hollywood. So they get everybody coming to them for help going to a Christian market. And I think the most famous movie that I know for sure that they helped out with happened to be Hacksaw Ridge. Like, they got a rough cut sent to them, and they were like, hey, please like give us notes on how to make this movie better suited towards Christians. It was so cool. But yeah.
Wow, I love that movie. That's such a cool.
It's a great movie.
Yeah. And what were some of your responsibilities in your internship?
So basically, I was responsible for like managing some content that they would post. They would do like all these red carpet interviews and stuff like that, and I would have to edit down these videos to post on social media. I was also responsible for making some graphics for them. So I made like new YouTube banners, Facebook covers. I was making magazines for them the entire time. That was, oh, I have PTSD about that. Let's not get into that. But yeah, I was basically just somebody making content for them all the time.
Awesome, yeah. And while you're down there, you're in Hollywood, there's, you know, people all over the place. Did you meet any celebrities in your time down there?
I wouldn't say I met anybody famous, but I definitely met people who worked on big projects, per se. I met Billy Levin, who was a producer at Magnolia Studios, which is like a little television sub-department of Warner Brothers. They work with Dolly Parton all the time. I met, oh, I forget his name, but I know he was a studio exec at Lionsgate. He worked on Hunger Games, John Wick, Divergent, pretty big. And then I also happened to meet, oh, I got two more people, but I met Rob Hudnut, who, if you've watched any of the animated Barbie movies growing up, he made all of them.
Really?
Yeah, he's such a cool guy.
What a
And
hero.
then I also met Ed Scudder, who was the head of story at Illumination, and his last movie that he worked on was that animated Mario movie that came out not too long ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Zach, we know about the new short film coming out. Where can people find more of your stuff?
Well, YouTube, I guess. I also have an Instagram. I can't remember what it is right now, but hopefully they can find it. But yeah, on Instagram I'll post like some photo stuff. YouTube I'll try to post more video content. I'm just kind of dipping into it right now. I haven't posted much, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else that you would like to tell people watching, or?
I don't know. Join the Pulse. Work at the Pulse. I also work for the Pulse.
pretty good pitch, I guess. So thank you, Zach, for coming on and sharing a bit about yourself. Unfortunately, that's all for this episode of YB Tonight. Thank you for watching YB Tonight, and tune in next Monday at 7 for more. On behalf of myself and the entire YBTV crew, have an amazing weekend, Messiah.